Hello, everyone. This is Yuko. In this channel, I will share information in English about events happening in China that may not be widely known in other countries. I gather information from various media sources, so I'd appreciate your opinions and comments on the video content. As English is not my native language, I use an AI speaker to read the information in English. If you find the content interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel and supporting it. Now, let me introduce you to the intriguing world of China. Today, I'd like to discuss the news that Moody's is expected to downgrade the credit rating of Chinese-related bonds. This involves various aspects, but one significant aspect is the international credit of Chinese government debt, which is commonly understood as international credit. The expectation is to change the rating to negative. This implies a decline in the international evaluation of Chinese-related bonds, which were considered the safest among them. This is quite interesting as it indicates a significant risk for the overall Chinese economy. However, this issue has been raised for quite some time. The Chinese government's debt has been increasing to an almost uncontrollable extent. Incidentally, a noteworthy point is that, in China, the debt of local governments is more problematic than that of the central government when viewed purely internationally. People might tend to think that China's government debt is not that large when looking at it only from an international perspective. However, the debt of local governments, which are smaller in scale than the central government, is the real issue. The exact extent of this hidden debt is unclear, and the numbers that have come out are just the minimum. In reality, there may be larger government debts than the amounts mentioned by the IMF. The reason for discussing this now is that there are issues emerging in the real estate sector, with instances of companies saying they can't pay their debts increasing recently. So, at this point, it cannot be said that the Chinese economy is stable. If Moody's is considering downgrading China's international credit rating, the impact would indeed be significant. However, it has been talked about for a long time, and the timing of such discussions often leads to downgrades before most people anticipate negative impacts. In any case, a downgrade could be the trigger for negative economic consequences. Therefore, if that happens, there are actually quite a few challenges for some American companies as well. In the end, many American companies are doing business with China, so if Moody's announcement becomes the trigger and a major problem arises, people might start wondering what's going on. We all understand the risks of the Chinese economy, but perhaps until now, there has been a tendency to turn a blind eye or not address certain aspects. However, now it seems that maintaining the credit rating has become more risky, despite the fact that the Chinese economy is in such a precarious state. It's like, come on, China's economy is already in a dire situation, and Moody's is keeping the rating unchanged as if everything is fine? What kind of accuracy do these rating agencies have? This is the sentiment that's emerging. From the perspective of economic experts, it's becoming increasingly clear that the Chinese economy is in serious trouble. So, the discussion is shifting towards the possibility that Moody's might be lowering the rating at this timing. Regarding Moody's, it's not just about the Chinese government debt, there are discussions about considering a downgrade for Chinese corporate bonds as well. This includes the financial platforms of 26 local governments, which is a unique system in China. As mentioned earlier, these financial platforms are a framework for local governments to accumulate hidden debts. Local governments create special corporations to borrow money, and these corporations collect funds, supposedly for activities that the government should be handling. There are many such entities in China. These special corporations are considered integral to the government in China. So, even if they borrow a lot of money, it's ultimately perceived that the government implicitly guarantees them. Lenders think that they won't default because the government, using its political power, won't let the debts go bad. So, if Moody's downgrades them, it means, wait a minute, the risk for the money lent to these entities is increasing. By the way, Moody's is also saying that they are considering downgrading the credit rating for the loans to 8 major banks. These banks are state-owned, so if Moody's is planning to downgrade them, it means that the credit ratings for what is considered the safest bonds in China, similar to government bonds, are expected to be downgraded across the board. For China, this implies a potential downgrade for bonds other than those mentioned. For example, the credit rating for the bonds of tech companies like Tencent, which is a representative in the IT industry, is expected to be downgraded as well. In the end, Moody's believes that the growth of the Chinese economy will stabilize in the medium term and has anticipated this. Many people, not just Moody's, now share the consensus that the rapid growth period of the Chinese economy has come to an end. In essence, there was a time when people expected rapid and continuous growth in the Chinese economy, but now it's not about slowing down, it's more about the possibility of contraction. In any case, debts keep increasing, unemployment rises, and the age distribution of the population is unfavorable for the economy. The number of children is decreasing, and the elderly population is growing rapidly among the actively working age group. This is considered a negative trend for the economy. Even if Moody's announces an expected downgrade at this point, there are still people who think, well, China's stocks are down, so it might be a good time to buy. Some still believe that China, being a major exporter of automobiles, will continue to grow. In the midst of all this, Moody's announcement about the expected downgrade direction becomes an opportunity for those who were optimistic about China's economy to reconsider and thoroughly examine the situation. As more people understand the reality of China, there might be a decrease in the number of people investing in China based on misunderstandings. The true strength of China might be more accurately reflected in various indicators. That concludes the discussion for today. See you next time.